On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, suppressors off the NFA, new armory acquisitions, shed hunting in a helicopter, and uglier than a mud fence. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Kraken and Marky, and this is episode 372 of the John 1911 podcast. We have been, I'm going to say we, I should say myself, I have been tardy with the podcast because I've been busy trying to take care of other stuff around here for the business, and so I've kind of worked out a plan so we can have more frequent pods, and the goal is to do 2 a week, which seems ambitious to the listener, but catching up with Kraken. It is Thursday, May 29th, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 7:10 p.m. Central where you're at. And we're just going to kind of wing it to get back into the groove. So, how you been, stranger?
Oh, I can't complain. Quite a few life changes, so just dealing with that and kind of getting things sorted out and back on track. Life's going pretty good.
I did tell the listeners that you had started, I didn't go into detail because I wanted to save it for you, but
Yeah.
you've started a trade school.
Yeah, I basically I got out of the security business, sold off that, kept one client, but just kind of decided I was done with that and found a VA program that would help me out with some schooling. So I found a local power sports technology program. So I'm doing that, and that way I can fix my own stuff and not have to hire it out what I didn't know how to do before. So boats, boat motors, side by sides, motorcycles, you name it. I'm kind of dabbling in all of it right now and just having a blast.
And you were sending me pictures like your whole life has changed. Like, first of
Pretty
all,
much, yeah.
you're sending me pictures. Was it Snap-on, or who's the company that brought all these fancy tools, or what's the brand? They dropped them off at your shop.
Right now, most of my stuff is Mac, but I've got Snap-on, Cornwell, Macco, uh,
But what was all the new?
predominantly Mac.
But what's
All
all
the
the
new
new
stuff was
stuff?
Mac.
Mac. So
Yep.
you so like I mean like Kraken got. I mean, I don't know, what was it, $30,000 worth of tools? Was it more? You know.
That's that's not as much as a person thinks when you start buying tool truck brand tools, though. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty good amount.
Yeah, so you're
But
going to school, getting tools, and then sending me pictures of tattoos. I'm like, what's going on
and I
over there?
and I'm still appendix carrying,
Hey, there you go.
so got that smoothed out quite a bit. So I'm not swinging in the upward arc near as bad. So I try and do 15, 20 reps a night dry
That's
firing.
good.
So
That's good.
doesn't feel awkward, and I don't feel self-conscious. So yeah, I'm really liking that. I'm getting ready to order up another holster for a new KImber I've got. If it doesn't cut my fingers off trying to shoot it.
Yeah.
I
I went
swear
through
to
my
God, they made this thing out of Gillette razor blades.
Dude, I'm telling you, I went through my Kimber phase 30 years ago, and it's a box of razor blades. And I'll tell you what, the worst one I ever had was the one that they make to be dehorned, the
Hmm.
CDPs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they still make them, but I mean, I took a high round count class with a CDP 45 with an aluminum frame, and that gun, I was hamburger after like
Hmm.
day three. Like, I'm serious. I mean, I look like my hands look like they'd been in an MMA fight. It was terrible. And, like, that's one thing about those Kimbers. Well, two things about the Kimbers: they're not really fit well. They'll beat themselves out of spec. They'll beat themselves into malfunctions. And the other thing is they're sharper than you. I mean, you can shave with them.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but,
I last time I was out, I brought that Kimber Aegis, and we were both kind of surprised how good a job they did dehorning that one.
yeah, I think they're getting
Uh,
better.
so then they've come up with this. I'll probably screw this up because I'm about half tired, but the KDS 9C, which
Oh, is that
basically
their
the Wilson
2011?
X9 look like.
So is that more of like a Will? Are they trying to do the Wilson, or are they trying to do 2011?
No, they're trying to copycat a Wilson.
Okay.
Uh, from 35,000 feet, it looks good. Uh, I've shot it some. It functions reliably so far, but I, I'll tell you what, I don't think they know how to spell dehorn, let alone dehorn anything. It is probably the out of all the and I'm not necessarily a Kimber whore.
Well, I
Um,
don't know. You spend quite a bit. I mean, hey, look, if you give them girls enough money, they start being your whore. Like I don't know what to tell.
well,
I don't
that's
know what to
true.
tell you.
Uh, but this one, the it's got plenty of curb appeal. They're literally trying to copy a Wilson, and if somebody is not real big into Wilson, I could see where they could look at one of these and say, "Oh, Wilson's doing some Cerakote stuff on their X9." Or I mean, it's really close. You'd have to really know the difference between the two from a distance to say that's the Kimber and that's the Wilson.
Does the Kimber? I guess the first thing, what all the listeners are going to ask, and then what I'm going to ask are two different things. What all the listeners are going to ask is, what kind of magazine does it use? Is it a proprietary mag? Is it another mag? Is it like another manufacturer's tube and follower, or is it or is it somebody else's mag?
It's their own mag. It's a stainless steel mag with like a DLC diamond like coating on it, so it's very slick. It has what they call a rocket spring, which I haven't pulled them apart yet to see if that what that deal is. Dimension wise, they're very similar to the Wilson. I mean, if this gun was made in China, you would just say that, well, they broke into the patent office and stole all the Wilson shit and then made it out of Chinesium.
So, how do they on these Kimber guns? How are they locking up the barrel? Have you paid attention to that? Are they using radio lugs? Or are they locking on the hood like a Wilson or a Glock or a modern gun? Do you know?
I haven't dug into it that far. It's a bushingless system with a flared, heavy fluted barrel.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, actually, I'll have to look at that. I'll get back to you on that one. I'm getting
yeah.
ready to do a write up on it.
I would imagine that they're. I mean, I don't know Kimber. I haven't, you know. Um, but yeah, I would imagine they probably are doing the radio. I'm not a fan of the radio lugs for 9 millimeter. It's just And
Hmm.
what was it? I think uh,
It is fully
Staccato.
ramped.
Well, it needs to be fully ramped, but Staccato did that. That was like a surprise. If I listen, there's some Staccato's got their new gun. I can't remember what it's Staccato's got their version of trying to do the Wilson X9 gun, like
Hmm.
the HD, and they did something with that gun that surprised me. And if I remember, I think it was they did the dual radio lug thing instead of locking off the hood like modern guns. And I was like, why the fuck did you do that?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right. And because it's probably easier and cheaper because they've already got barrels that lock like that. And so making
Hmm.
an all new barrel on top of it is it was too, and it was like, yeah, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, all right. All right. Well, I'd kind of forgotten you'd gotten that double stack gun.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to play with it, so I grabbed a handful of this ammo and a handful of that and some hand loads and some spicy hand loads and some cheap Winchester and just basically threw it in a hat, shook it up and just loaded up magazines and uh didn't even haven't even really stripped it down and lubed it up with good Militech or anything. Just let's just blow the big chunks of grease out and step out back and see what she does. And I probably got 150 rounds through it, just
Okay.
mixed stuff in the magazine uh, with no issue so far. So they're,
What's the capacity of the magazines?
you can get 10s, 15s, or 18s. So the version I have is the rail version.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already cut for optics, but you have to buy their optics plate. They didn't include that, which
Oh,
I thought was kind of shitty.
yeah.
So mine came with a 15 and an 18, which is basically the 15 round body with a pinky extension on it.
Oh, so it's a pretty short. This is, I mean, like they're really trying to copy the Wilsons.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're not super detail oriented, like the shape of the hammer's a little different. Kind of right down to almost the checkering pattern on the grip is almost Wilson like. Uh,
Interesting.
I don't know how to describe it really accurately. So to me, like the Wilson, all their grips have that same kind of pattern to them. I to me, it's I call it the Death Star pattern from Star Wars, and this Kimber has a very similar themed grip texture on it, even.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's literally like somebody at Kimber went, "Wow, that Wilson's really cool and runs really fucking awesome. So let's do a half-ass copy of it and sell it for half price and make sure that we don't dehorn it at all, so we can sell it for half price and see how many suckers. I mean, how much of a following we can get."
Does does Kimber still do when I ran Kimbers, they did internal extractors. They hadn't I'd left Kimber market went before they went to their series 2 with their external extractors and everything. Does this gun have a traditional extractor or does it have an external extractor? And if it's an external extractor, is it like the same external extractor Kimber switched 2 years ago? Or is Kimber doing a different external extractor? Like I haven't even paid attention.
This looks just like a standard 1911 external extractor.
Well, I mean, 1911s don't have extractors external. So okay.
What?
If you
Well,
look,
what? What?
here's
What?
the
That's what
here's the
I'm
question I'm
calling it.
asking. When you look at the external extractor on the Kimber,
Mhm.
and then you look at the external extractor on the Wilson, is the Kimber external extractor that's exposed? Is it short? Is it shorter than the Wilson, or is it long like the Wilson?
It's long.
Oh, it is. So they have made
Yeah,
some kind of
it's
change.
probably. I'm looking at it right now. It's probably 2 inches long.
Okay, because I seem to remember, I could be, I seem to remember Kimber initially was doing, I thought it wasn't a short external extractor, and they had all kinds of, it looked like a Glock extractor,
Yeah,
because Glock does a short
that
extractor,
little short stubby.
and I think Kimber never got that to work right, and I could be, don't, someone listening at home that knows Kimber is like, don't hang me out to dry on that, I could be wrong on this one, but yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, I'm gonna play them Kimbers. That's fine. So,
Yeah. See, and like on
um,
my Aegis, it's an internal extractor.
okay. Um, yeah, I mean, like the last Kimber that I ran hard, and I ran this gun hard, was I guess the Kimber guys would call it. It was a '97 or '98 production. So 1997, so the previous century, you youngins. Um, yeah, this is. Remember when we were talking? You were here at the range, and I made some comment about a couple middle-aged guys, and you looked at me and you're like, "I got news for you, brother. We ain't middle-aged."
we we
Yeah,
done blew by that already, buddy. I'm
yeah.
telling you.
So it's like, oh shit, I really think about it. I guess you're right. I got a full gray beard now. Um, it was a stainless steel 5-inch Kimber Gold match, and I shot that gun almost to pieces. Like I started having I mean, like I was wearing out stuff on that gun that was just unbelievable. Like you're like, like I remember like I wore out a grip safety, and it's like, I'd be around people that are like, I have a Colt that's 80 years old that is shooting in IDPA matches, and it's like I've never worn out a grip safety. How the fuck are you wearing out a grip safety? It's like, well, because it's MIM. It's why you're wearing it out. And it was like once I realized that, I was like, well, I gotta get out of these guns. So that's when I started moving into the more custom I guess I call them semi-custom. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm kind of glad you're doing it. I don't want to do it. Like I wouldn't want to buy one of these guns and
Oh, so
shoot them.
leave me the shit jobs. I see how it goes.
Well, you know what? Look, I mean, it's like, look, it interests you. You wanna buy them. If you're shooting it, but like to me, a Kimber. like let's say somebody was like, "Hey, we want you to shoot these guns," and we're not really gear reviewers. I would literally be like, because I got the guns that I want to shoot. You know what I mean? Like I've
Hmm.
got my carry gun and my backup gun, and and then it's like I got to shoot this extra gun. Like the idea of having to shoot a gun that I actually don't care about to me was like hell on earth. And these dudes that do this, like this gear reviewers, I'm just like, no, I'm not. No, it'd be like kissing a girl that you don't. I'm not like, no. I'm just like, I'm not into this. Don't care. It's not that I think it's bad. It's just my eyes are on another girl. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm not shitting on your girl. I just, I got a girl. So,
No, I
um,
saw it and I thought, wow, they're really trying to copy a Wilson. So I
we've
found a
had
guy
me
local that had one, and I thought, well, I'll just grab it and play with it and see
every
how it
time I
stacks
post
up.
every time I post a video of, and there's going to have to be more, but like of the X9 or the Project One gun, the Wilson Project One gun,
Hmm.
eventually in the comments somebody will come in and be like, "Have you checked out the?" Used to be the Prodigy, the Springfield Prodigy, and I think people have kind of figured out that yeah, that's not really where it's at. And then they're coming and they're like, "Hey, have you checked out these Kimbers?" They call them the KImber DSs. I guess double stack is what that stands for. And
Hmm.
I'm like, no. Well, now I can be like, yeah, Kraken's shooting one now. We do a video on it and shoot groups and whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
I
uh,
will say, so far, shootability of it is pretty decent. Recoil is pretty easy to manage, and it's feels good in the hand, and natural pointability seems pretty decent. But for what they get, I'm pretty underwhelmed so far for the price tag they carry
okay,
so
okay.
far.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if you take it apart to tell me what it's like, because the internals of the internals of the Wilson are just um, they're not really um, they're not really I gotta turn this. My phone's blowing up. They're not really like a 1911. They're very different.
Yeah.
So, it's like I mean like the mainspring on a X9 gun is like radically different than on a 1911.
Hmm.
It's like it's like rocket science different. Like Kim or Wilson put a lot of work into some of this stuff to get that. So yeah, it'll be. I'd be curious. I'm super curious if you detail strip this gun. I'd be super curious how Kimber does the lugs on the barrel, and I'd be real super curious to see how they do the mainspring housing.
Hmm.
If they have, how. And so anyway, so all right. Well, enough about Kimbers. Have you heard? So do you think they're going to get suppressors off the NFA? Have you heard anything about this? Have
Well,
you know what I'm talking about?
it was included in the big beautiful bill that the House passed, so it's working on being reconciled in the Senate. I think it will probably slip through because there's just bigger fish to fry. The only concern I have is I'm afraid it might become a sacrificial lamb because we do have a few Republican senators that are not real 2A friendly. Uh,
Well, it's not
I
just that. Like the one guy from Kentucky. Well, they got it out of the. Well, let me see. So they got. Well, I'm thinking of it from the House.
Yeah,
Well, who are the Republican senators that aren't 2A friendly?
like Collins, Murkowski, some
Oh
of them,
yeah, I forgot about them.
because we don't have a big margin. Uh, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
hope
sure.
that
I'm sure
everybody
Jim
kind of
Justice
just
will vote for it.
yeah. I'm just kind of hoping everybody had just kind of shut up about it and just let it sit and idle in there. Let them argue about dollars on big stuff and just let that slide through, without any hoopla. And I think we got a better chance. But I like its odds right now. Uh, that suppressor part of the bill is checkers, and they're trying to play chess.
Yeah, I think I have a story about that. I was playing chess with this old man in Africa, I'm sorry, checkers. This old man, he was like, it was near the embassy. So I'm like, this old man, I'm playing checkers. I'm like, yeah, I think I remember I played checkers. I lost every game. I was like, I had lost a game of checkers. I was like, what the hell's happening right now? And literally at one point, he got up and went to the bathroom. And I pulled out my phone and I Googled how to win at checkers. I was like, what's happening? And it literally said, it said, move your stuff in pairs, and it's a game you win by being aggressive and trying to control the center of the board. And there was one game where, um, like I gave him pause. Like it took him a while to beat me, but that's as close. I was like, oh my God. I was so steaming mad. I was mad as hell. I was resolved, like, I'm going to get back to America and I'm going to get a checkers app on my phone and I'm going to learn how to play checkers. Like, I had forgotten, like, what was it? So there's a thing in checkers, like you king your checker, right?
Hmm.
Well, there was another thing in checkers. I had forgotten about this, or maybe we didn't play this part as a kid. They if you have a jump, like let's say I have a piece and I could jump your piece, and for some reason I don't see it and I move another piece, you can take the piece that I didn't jump you with.
Hmm.
I had forgotten. I was like,
Basically, yeah, it's a mandatory jump.
and I
So
was
you
like,
snooze, you lose.
yeah, I had forgotten like some of this stuff. So like a couple games, I was like, "What's that? What are you doing?" Like I didn't know. And so I was just like, "Yeah." So checkers right now is kind of a sore ass subject for me because I mean I was destroyed.
So were you playing Bartles or James?
You mean this
We're
North
going we're going
Africa?
we're going way back to the 80s. Remember the old
Oh, those
Bartles and James
commercials?
with the two old
No.
farts out in front of
Well, it was an
the
old
general
old.
store playing
It
checkers?
was an old man near the embassy, and it was like this open air area, and I was just kind of wandering around, and
Yeah.
and I was like, I see him get some kind of trouble, and so I was fucking playing checkers with it because can't hardly talk to each other. He
Yeah.
didn't really speak English, but I was like, I play checkers, whatever, and yeah, it was bad. So, um,
So if you know who Bartles and James are, you probably need to schedule your colonoscopy and your PSA test for prostate cancer.
yeah,
Just saying.
If you know who Bartles and James are, you're not middle aged.
No, you've done
Yeah,
blown right by that.
zing. So, yeah. Anyway, I mean, it's interesting the NFA. Like, I really, everybody's been hooting and hollering about all that with the, with the thing. But I think it's interesting where there's a tactic because the the suppressors, like a lot of people don't understand, like it's a tax. And like you get it in the old ways that they used to do taxes in America is you would buy a stamp and then they would cancel it. And so you literally get a tax stamp. Like a lot of people when they think, like, you hear phrases like tax stamp, or people that are own guns but they don't they never actually have done an NFA item and they get the paperwork, you physically get a piece of paper with a stamp, like it looks like a stamp with the whatever symbol it has on it, and then they cancel it like the old
Mhm.
fashioned letters. Again, past middle age. And they were able to include this into this big, beautiful bill because this is a spending bill, and a spending bill deals with revenue and taxes. And you just can't slip in this bill, pork, like, hey, I want a
Mhm.
golden toilet in my, whatever. It's like, well, no, you could slip this thing in because it's a tax. And apparently, I can't remember what is it with there's the bird rule, where is you don't, if you, the bird rule do you not have to have 60 votes to pass something
Not
that's a tax with the bird rule?
not in well, I don't know if it's that or if it's just the reconciliation bill is simple majority to get out of cloture, so they can't filibuster it. So that's why
Oh,
it can go 51-49 and you're golden. But and I think it's part of the bird rule. You can only do that twice a year.
oh,
So
there's a
so that's
limit
why it's
on it.
got to be the big beautiful bill, because you just can't every bill that has to deal with spending or taxes, you can't do 20 different bills in
Okay,
one year by reconciliation.
okay. Well, do you know why? Like when it was in the House, because technically, and this was an issue with Obamacare. Technically, by standards supposedly in the Constitution, any bill that is a tax that raises taxes is supposed to originate in the House, not the Senate. That was the big fight with Obamacare because Obamacare initially was created in the Senate, not the House. And so when they were fighting about it in the Supreme Court, at one point they were arguing it was a tax, at another point they were arguing it wasn't a tax in the same opinion. And it was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's called the origination clause because, the Constitution, they were like, we want, since you'll be taxing the people, we want all bills that are related to taxes to originate with the House of Representatives of all the people. And so it's interesting. How come how come short barreled rifles and other stuff wasn't included? Was it ever included, or do you know anything about how that's going or why?
Yep. The way I understand it, it was more palatable to do suppressors because they could couch that debate wise as a hearing protection measure,
Oh,
where it wasn't as unseemly as those evil short barreled rifles that can kill 150 people a second and you can hide it in your back pocket type of debate. So the short act didn't get included, and the way I understood it was they didn't believe the short act would make it out of committee. So it was one of them that the guys that were in favor of at least reining in some of the NFA stuff was like, well, let's do suppressors, let's couch it from a hearing protection angle, and we'll chip away at the rest of NFA later. But let's get this in, slide it in there, and see if we can get it to come in under the wire.
well, it's interesting if you think about it because, and I don't know what the numbers are, but I am quite certain that, like you've been buying suppressors, and I need to start buying suppressors, but you've been buying suppressors and you've been getting suppressors back in what, 2, 3, and 4 days?
Yeah.
Do you know I don't know what the current wait times are. Is it the same or is it like it's probably, I mean, it hasn't gone up to like a month again, has it? Like it's probably,
No, no. Well, see, and the caveat being, I'm doing mine individual, not a trust.
yeah, individual.
So the
Yeah.
trusts are still taking quite a bit of time, but yeah, it's still in there anywhere from the probably. Well, I saw something just the other day. I think the average is like 6 business days, 7 business days.
So the thing is, what's interesting with this is one of the weaknesses of the NFA was that the wait time started to become constitutionally questionable. For
Yeah.
example, the Gemtech integrated upper suppressor thing that I have from the Surge program, I mean, I waited for that thing like 16 months.
Hmm.
And it was becoming, the wait times were becoming so, they were becoming, how would you say it? And constitutionally, it would be
Undue
arbitrary.
burden.
Yeah, arbitrary and capricious at some point.
Yeah.
You're restraining the right, like a reasonable amount of time. Like it's getting ridiculous. And it was all of a sudden there was a rush by the ATF to fix this. And they spent a lot of money doing all these auto electronic, trying to update all the records. And they even, when they came out and they changed the system and it got real fast, they even admitted if you submit an application for an NFA item tomorrow, it'll happen quickly. If you submit an application a month ago or a week ago, we're still doing that by hand
Mhm.
because it's backlogged and we only implement it for the new system. Well, they spent a lot of money on that. Well, the reason why the NFA got to be so bogged down getting approvals is because of the amount of suppressors that people are buying now. That's what crushed the NFA approval process because there's only so many machine guns in America.
Mhm.
And, they don't transact that often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's suppressors that bog down the system. So here's the thing, like, if they move suppressors to the 4473, which is basically, a class 1 gun license, your retail gun store, I mean, shit. Like, if you buy a machine gun, they better approve that motherfucker in like 15 minutes because I mean,
Oh yeah,
there's
because
there's going to be
85% of
nothing.
their workload just went out the window.
Yeah, I mean, it literally should there unless there's something about how they handle the machine gun thing. And I know that the machine gun registries a little wonky because a lot of it's old, and I don't know if they've automated the machine gun, whereas like all these suppressors are new manufactured items and they can intake into the NFA electronically, whereas a lot of the stuff for the machine gun registry, it's like written out by hand, and there's a description, you know what I mean? So but it's going to be real interesting to see how long it takes machine guns and destructive devices to get approved.
Yeah.
But, I guess, well, do you still, okay, because I don't even know. If they do the 4473, do you still have to pay the tax?
Well, if
I
if
guess
this
not.
stays in the bill, the way I read it and the way I've seen people smarter than me explain it was basically it's no longer an NFA item. It's just like buying a Ruger 1022 at your local gun store.
Okay, so
It'll
then,
it'll be serial numbered, and you still have to fill out a 4473 and do a background check or have a buyer's permit. But the way I understand it is it's not going to be any different, that there's no tax stamp, there's no tax fee, there's no application to ATF. You just go in and say, I'll take one of them. He pulls it out of the case, puts the serial number on the 4473. You hand him your permit, the $600 for the can, and out the door you go.
and but there will be a tax because most people don't realize this. I can't remember what they call it. You probably know it. There's a tax on firearms and ammunition. I think it's
Uh,
11%.
Pittman
And
Robinson,
yeah,
something
and
like
it like
that. Yeah.
all that money goes to like wildlife and parks or something.
Hmm.
Like it's a major source of funding for. I think it was created by like Teddy Roosevelt. I think that's where
Yeah.
the tax comes from. So it'll be interesting. Like, you know, where does a $200 tax stamp money go? Does it go to the ATF or does it go into the general fund? And if they move suppressors over to 4473s, that 10% or 11% tax will go to the Pittman, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, preserve the ducks and preserve the parks funds.
Hmm.
So that'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm so here. Okay, I got a problem.
Cautiously optimistic is the
Cautious.
way I would describe it right now for me.
Have you heard anything about as far as how long it'll take? I mean, should I wait to buy a suppressor? I need to get a suppressor for this Wilson handgun that I've got. The
Here's
little
the
nine.
problem I see. So let's just say all the stars align, nobody gets a case of the stupids, and everything gets signed. And let's just pick an arbitrary date and say on July 1st, you can just walk in and, just like buying a handgun, whip your money out, walk out of the store with it that day. The problem is going to be a lot of suppressors right now are kind of hard to get, just because now we're down to, 7-day wait time. So everybody's jumping on board, going, well, hell, I'll wait 7 days to get my tax stamp. Uh, so they're just cranking out cans about as fast as they can. So it's a real hit and
Yeah.
miss on finding something in stock now. So if you can just turn around and run down to Joe's gun shop and whip out $500 and walk out that day with a can,
I was
the
wondering if
demand is going to go way up. So
yeah. That's
that
why I
gets
was
into
wondering, maybe I should just go ahead and buy a can now.
pay the $200 and know you can get it now versus there may be a can shortage until the novelties wore off.
So here's my problem. I want the listener to maybe help me out with this because I mean, look, I'm not like an NFA nerd. I don't look and see what the greatest, latest, interesting thing is. Just, I shoot stuff and I break it. Just tell me what to buy. So I've got this Wilson Experior single stack gun I had them make, and I haven't put a round through it yet. We've been so busy, but it's set up for a suppressor I think I might have shown it to you.
Mhm.
Um, and shoot it at night, and I want to put a can on it. And I know that they're making some shorty cans, or I know there's been some 3D printed cans that have come out, and there have been some opinions saying this is the best 9 millimeter can you can get right now. And I don't know what that is. Like, I would love for somebody and even if it doesn't suppress it, like, I don't need a 12-inch can. I could just use one that's, short-ish, and then what I would do is I would literally use it to run drills and film while shooting at night. So it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be super suppressed. It just, take the edge off. So maybe we don't get any noise complaints. Um, like, I don't know. Like, I know there was some kind of shorty can that everybody was like, this is the greatest can ever, and it came out like maybe last year, but I don't know what that was. And
Well,
I'd like
my
someone in the comments to leave me a link so I can go buy that thing before I can't get them.
my Gemtech Lunar 9, it's two parts. I can either run it 7 or unscrew it and then put the cap on and run it 4 inches.
And maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's one of these ones that you can take apart.
Yeah, it's you just unscrew it and take the end cap off the end of the 7 inch piece and just screw it on the end of the 4 inch piece, screw it on your gun, and you got a 4 inch can. Uh, so I don't know if anybody besides Gemtech is doing it. I just know you can do it with the one I have, and it's kind of handy on a pistol.
Yeah, I'd like one that the idea of having, because it's a, look, it's a 5-inch gun. It's a 1911. It's a 9 millimeter. And so Wilson, what they do is they relieve the rails and they cut down the lug, one of the lugs. So, because again, over railed over lug 9 millimeter, 1911s, and 5 inches, that's a big, long, heavy slide. Hint to everybody, that's why you see a lot of these companies make 9 millimeters and 4 and 4 1/4 and these weird sizes, because they're trying to overcome the inertia of, because you don't have all that weight and energy from a 230 grain ball 45 caliber bullet. Well, I'd like to get a can that's 3D printed, that's small enough that I could just put it on this gun and it'll run, and I don't need a booster. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need the most quiet can, like Hollywood dorky can. Just something shorty. I can maybe make a custom Kydex holster. I can draw with it, shoot it, do videos and drills at night with lights, and then holster it up. And I don't have to deal with trying to get it to, like, I don't want this big heavy can that's going to bog down this gun. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Like, I don't know if your Omega with your 7-inch can. I don't even know how that would. Does that have a booster on it? A Nielsen
Mm-mm.
device?
No.
What do you run it on?
I run it on that carbine I've got, and then
Oh, that's right.
right now I've got it on a little Ruger 2245, doing pest control with it, uh, with long rifle subsonics. It's about as loud as a pellet gun.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm sure somebody will leave a
Yeah,
comment, and we'll figure out. Maybe you and I will talk to you before I buy something. We've talked about this before, and I'm going to have to make some kind of decision and buy something. So, I guess to give the listener kind of update what's going on around here at John 1911, why we've had some slowdowns again. Um, how do I say this? I had to fire the dirt work people on another project, kind of working on, you know, there's the parking lot, there's the road. We need to upgrade some privacy berms up front. I'm realizing we need some work on the range. There's an area not that far from the the picnic shelter, the covered shooting position on the rifle range, that it's kind of steep and it's hard to cut with the tractor and the bush hog, and it's kind of
hmm
dangerous. And I'd like to dig that out and regrade that. I'm going to have lots of clay left over from all this other work, and I'd probably like to redo the space down the 500 600 yard impact zone at the end of the rifle range. There's a divot down there under the target stands, and water collects down there. It's always wet, when it's
yeah,
even a moderate amount of rain. And I'm like, I could regrade that. And so I decided to cut the dirt work guys loose because they have a Cletus has a bad habit of, I call it the phantom third bill. And and I've let it slide for a while. And so this last project, not this one but previous one, I was real specific when I would talk to him about, you know we're going to do this and we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and the price is going to be this, and I'd give him money and then whatever. And there would be none of these casual conversations like, oh man, you should think about, oh, that's a good idea, and you realize you're running up the bill. And so I was very specific on the last work I had them do. And I'll be goddamned if it wasn't like a month, 6 weeks later, I get this message saying, hey, we've been behind on the billing, and so is working up the numbers. And, I got this bill for like an extra $1,300. And they do this every time. And I'm like, and I swore to myself, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be the last. This is gonna be the last one of these, because I specifically, yeah, it's gotten to be a situation where it's offended me,
hmm
because how do I, look, I'm not from around here, and they see money and they see me coming, and it's like, oh, so yeah, I've decided, genuflect, I'm renting a Bobcat and I'm just going to do it all myself. I'm going to rent it for a week. And,
yeah. I might
uh,
have to come out and watch this one. This will be a
oh
good
God.
show.
Well, maybe I'll get you in there and do it. Maybe I get Danny down here. Um, but I've got a weekly rate and spoke to the company, and, there's the rate, and they're like, well, what about pickup? And I'm like, well, I got a Tundra. It's like a two. They're like, it's like a They're like, how big's the engine in that? I'm like, yeah, it's like a 5.7 V8 gasser. It's like a 250 kind of. So, I said, I don't know if it'd be. I said it might pull your Bobcat, but I don't know if it'd pull the Bobcat in a trailer.
Yeah,
And he goes, well, he says, unfortunately for you, we have a policy. If you don't have at least a 3/4 ton truck, we have to deliver it. We don't care what it is. If it's not a 3/4 ton, you got to pay for delivery and you got to pay for pickup. And it was like $120. It
yeah.
wasn't that big of a deal. And it's like, oh, but like kicking the balls right on the Tundra as it's about to hit 250,000 miles. The Tundra will probably hit 250,000 miles with probably in June.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be, if I hit the mighty Tundra, I'll hit 250,000. So yeah, it's I'm happy with that truck, but it's another example of like, you know, I don't want to buy a new truck, but if Trump suddenly gets a hair up his ass and goes after death fluid, I don't know. You never know. Might get me a big old 450 and just be done with it. So,
I sure
but
like
and
mine.
Yeah, so probably you have like, what do you have, you have a 350 or 450?
I've got a Ram, so it's a 2500, so it's three
Okay,
quarter ton, but it's got the
okay.
6.7 Cummins in it.
No, you got the big old Cummins. All right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those situations where the Tundra is going to last forever. You can get a million miles out of them, and I'm hard on the truck, but I take care of it. I get it serviced religiously, so it probably won't break soon. But if something ever does happen to that truck, where it's like, oh shit, like this is like I got to rip like a big something out of it. I keep hoping the DEF fluid will go away. I just I hate that stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where So anyway, the Tundra got disrespected by the equipment people, and I was like, oh shit, okay. It's like that's fine, I understand. So have you bought any new guns other than the Kimbers?
Oh, well, let's see. I got the Kimber. I got grabbed up a Smith and Wesson 645 finally.
Okay,
I think you posted
yep,
that on the page.
I did.
Let's see. Got that little Ruger 2245 I've been playing with.
Is that Wait a minute? The 2245, is that the one that has the exact grip angle like a 1911?
Yep,
Those are cool.
yep. And this it's the lightweight, so it's got the aerated aluminum barrel shroud, and it's tapped for a can and came with a factory red dot. So it's been doing some varmint duty out the living room window. I've got varmints that
Hmm.
destroy the wife's bird feeders, and somehow that becomes my fault. So,
Oh, so that's why she's letting you shoot the gun in the house because you're trying to save
well,
the birds.
easier to seek forgiveness than permission, but yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Uh, Picked up a nice little brand new Sig P220 the other day. Uh,
Oh,
probably gonna make that my winter carry. Put that in a JM Custom and rock that in the winter time. Uh,
is that the
Actually, was
DASA gun with the decocker? Is that like the
yep,
old fashioned one?
yep,
I
yep.
hadn't seen one of those in years.
Frame mounted decocker. Was actually pretty tickled today. Wandered into one of my local gun shops and was just perusing the ammo selection and found a couple boxes of 50 cal that he'd had half of forever. So I got it bought for $5 a round.
Hey, there you go. You've been shooting at 50?
A couple times. It's a little hard to shoot around here because I don't have a huge open area. I've kind of like your range. It's rolling hills with woods.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I haven't had a chance to really stretch it out, and honestly I haven't had time with the way my school schedule was set up this spring.
Yeah.
I was so Mondays and Wednesdays I had night class, so I would get home about midnight because quite a drive to school. But then Tuesdays and Thursdays, my first class was at 8 a.m. So I get home at midnight, get up at 4:30 in the morning to get to school on time. And then I had school clear through till midnight again on Tuesday and Thursday night. So by the time Friday got here, I wasn't worth a shit for much.
So your
We're
coming schedule, what's it like?
Monday through Thursday, night class only, 6 to 10.
Okay, so you could do because I'm thinking about daytime or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to do pods with the
Mm-hmm.
boys, and then I'll do solo pods, earlier in the week or over the weekends
Yep,
with the option.
I've just got to be done by about 3.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely get into a rhythm on that and then get the pods out on a
Yeah.
regular schedule. And then I'll have to figure out, I may have to break them up and, with Danny and see what, he can do. Like, so I
Mm-hmm.
may have to do, but my goal has always been like, if I have to do 2 or 3 pods a week, I'm totally fine with that,
Mm-hmm.
which seems insane, but I've always wanted to have more pods. So, I mean, if we got to break them up for a while you're in school, that's fine by me. He loves talking politics, and you talk the guns, and that just makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
Makes it easier on the listener if they want to politics. I don't want to listen to that one. Do the guns.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get that figured out. Um, Around here, uh, we bought a the Kent the Kent State Equalizer. We got one of those one of those Ohio National Guard guns, 870s, with all the bayonets and everything on it. Like I got that. That came in. That literally came in. I think the day before I left for Africa.
Yeah.
I haven't touched that gun. It's been hanging in the armory. Um, then after that, it was what was it? Oh, a Remington 81. I finally picked up one of those. I may do a video on it. It's in 300 Savage, and it's pretty interesting gun. There's the Bonnie and Clyde version, like with the
Hmm.
expended mag, but this gun, I don't think I've posted the video. Have you seen is there a video of me talking about a Remington 81 that's been sporterized?
I haven't seen one if there is.
Okay, I may not have published it yet. So, but like, how do you sporterize a sporter? It's like, well, I'll show you. And it's an interesting gun. It's an interesting situation. And I got it through Shooter Supply, and I'm glad to have it. And got a decent price too. Came in on consignment, so that's an interesting gun. We'll be doing some more of that. And then it's not here yet, but I finally was able to get one of those BRN AR-10 guns, BRN
Hmm.
10 AR-10s. I paid way too much for that gun. I paid way too much for that gun, dude. Oh my God, I overpaid.
Well,
Um,
should have bought them when they were new.
I know, and they were $1,300, and I wanted and wanted and wanted it. Then all of a sudden they announced like, we're getting rid of it, and boom, they shot up, and then they disappeared. And
Yeah.
occasionally they'll show up, and I'll try to make a run at one, but then they get too stupid high or whatever, and they disappear. And then one popped up, and I looked, and it was the only one, and I made a fundamental mistake. What I did is my initial bid on an auto bid system, I stood tall on my bid because it had like 10 days to go. And I'm
Hmm.
like, motherfucker. And I just knew it would get run up. So I just put in my max bid. And so it was too late. And I didn't realize it. But a few hours after I did that, another one popped up. And then that one stopped like $1,000 cheaper, and so mine got bid up, and then it killed the other. It killed the other auction, and so that dude came out like a rose, and I overpaid by about $800. So I'm admitting it now, and I even, you win some and you lose some, and even when you win, sometimes you lose. And there's been a lot of guns that I've won on, but you know what? I gotta give you my losses on Wall Street. This is gonna be one. It's like, yep, I overpaid on that. In long term, I think I'll be okay on. Like we're gonna want to sell it, but the residual value of that will not be realized within the next 18 to 24 months because I'm
No.
I'm upside I'm upside down in that gun. I haven't even taken possession of it yet. So it's
But
like,
on the flip side, there's value added in when it's just something you want. Uh, some guns that I glom onto, they're strictly business propositions. I know I can make some money on them, or they're going to fill a particular role that I need. And then there's stuff that, okay, I might have got gouged in the ass a little bit, but I wanted it bad enough. It's worth it to me.
yeah, the thing is, like the AR-10 gun, the BRN 10 gun is like the SIG. It's like the SIG P210 that was remade.
Hmm.
And like the SIG hasn't announced that they're stopping production of that gun yet, but they're already creeping up.
Hmm.
And once they shut that gun down, it's like I mean, that gun's gonna get stupid high. And the whole point of being able to buy that gun and not have to spend the stupid prices on it that the original SIG P210s command, because who wants that? And it's like, and also the modern gun is better made with better ergonomics, better materials, American controls on the SIG P210. And so you look at the BRN 10 to get a semi-automatic AR-10, you have to basically import a parts kit because it's a machine gun that's chopped up, and you got to build it as a semi-auto, and you're going to have crappy mags, and if you break anything on that gun, you are fucked. Fucked, 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 fucked. You'll never get another bolt for that gun. And, and it's going to cost so much money. And it's like, I just want one, just to have it, like to shoot it and have an AR-10, because I'm not actually a big fan of the AR-10. Like, I've seen a lot of problems with AR-10s. And so the idea of like an AR-10 that's supposed to be an AR-10, not what all this shit that these guys have done with these guns. I'm going to say this right now, because I think a lot of people don't realize this. And this is my own personal experience. I'm not saying this is true in your universe or with your police department or with your gun or whatever your situation. But whether places I've worked or here at my range or with SWAT teams or hunters, when somebody shows up with a 308 caliber AR, there's going to be fucking trouble. It's like, oh, here we go. Because it's like these guns, because a lot of people, like, in the 308 is such a high pressure round. And it's like, I don't mean that like, oh my God, it's so whatever, but it's like the 308 is kind of like the 40 Smith and Wesson, in my opinion. And like, what I mean is the pressure that round produces relative to the size of gun it lives at the upper end of the spectrum. And so it's
Yeah.
real easy when you start messing with these AR-10s that very quickly the shit spins out of control and shit don't work.
Yep.
The belts or the bolts are oversped, the gas just adjusted, and the suppressors, and I'm telling you, like, I've seen more trouble with AR-10s. Especially AR-10s that are hand loaded. And here's the coup de grace of the entire thing. The only AR-10 that I have ever seen that wasn't finicky as fuck, and I'm talking Reapers, I'm talking
I know
HKs.
right where you're going.
The only one that's ever worth a damn that shoots lights out, Doc has one. It's a DPMS gun.
Yep.
Everybody hates this gun. They're like, it's so cheap, whatever. And Doc runs rings around people with this gun. He shot that gun so much, he burned out the barrel and had to get it rebarreled, and it still runs.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't put suppressor on it.
Yep.
And it's like, that's the only one. I'm like, well, okay, if Brownells will come out with a generic AR-10, cool. I'll buy that. And just like, not too heavy. Maybe it'll run 147 grain ammo. Why not? So, well, shit, I didn't even check what the twist rate is on it. So that's where I'm at. So, oh, a bunch of FNCs and fully automatic FNCs and FNC Sears have hit the market recently too. And it's like, ooh, I need to get one of those. I debate because I have an FNC, and it's like I could convert it to full auto, but I'm starting to realize now that semi-automatic FNCs are becoming rare because people are converting them all to machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I should just go ahead and buy one that's already converted, because there's not that much of a price difference between the sear and the completed gun, and maybe I'll just have two of them.
There you
And I
go.
knew there's going to come a point when they start hitting the market, and I think I'm starting to see it with the economy. So
Yeah.
that's the market report. So, well, I'll tell you what, I don't want to keep you. It's 59 minutes, 13 seconds right now. I want to be able to do these pods, get in and get out. I can do the
Yeah.
long ones by myself. So we'll just go ahead and do a couple of these things, and we'll get out of this. So the first thing is, there's a hunting story, and I don't know if you heard, Did you hear about the national? Let me find this. The so do you have you ever done shed hunting?
Hmm. All the time.
What what um what uh what kind of animals uh do you um do you shed hunt for?
Well, around here it's white-tailed deer because that's what we have in my neck of the woods. But so anything with an antler will shed its antlers every year in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Animals that have horns never shed them. So mule deer, white-tailed deer, elk, they lose their antlers every year. So shed hunting has become a bit. They even have dogs now that they trained to shed hunt.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that was. I just thought that was like local dudes would go
Nope.
out and be like, I had a piece of property that I owned in the past, and I got a call from, and it's not out here, John 1911. I got a call from a local PD saying they had arrested somebody shed hunting on my property. It's like they got a call from the neighbor, and it was like, what the fuck? Like I was years ago, and I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah,
So
it's huge.
yeah, I did not know that. So it's apparently, would you ever use a helicopter to go shed hunting?
Uh, no, because I don't trust helicopters in the first place. But
Spoken like a true sailor. Um,
right?
yeah. Would you ever use your employer's helicopter to go shed hunting?
Well, again, they like to go up, but they just come down really really fast and hard too often. I'm just kind of out on the whole helicopter deal.
When you were in the Navy,
Except I want to shoot hogs out of one. I do want to
when
go
you were in
helicopter
the
hog
when,
hunting.
when you were in the Navy, do you think somebody would have gotten away with shed hunting with a Navy helicopter?
Oh no, no,
Well,
no.
apparently
That's the one way trip to Leavenworth.
Apparently, three Montana Army National Guard members took
Oh
their
jeez.
government Black Hawk helicopter into a mountain pasture on a private ranch to take, quote, several elk antlers before flying away, unquote. A witness saw the May 4th landing, and the person who owned the property reported it to officials who tracked down the three guard members. Sweetgrass County Sheriff Alan Ronnieberg said Thursday. So they literally, these dudes, they're like, I didn't know you could see that shit from a helicopter. How low were they flying? So then they landed, loaded up a bunch of shit, flew away. Somebody called it in. That person has to call the FAA or has to call the FAA or flight tracker, and they're like, okay, what helicopter flew over Bobby's ranch? And they're like, oh, well, look, it looked fucking Blackhawk, and where'd it go? Wow, look, it looks like it went up there to Minot. Well, let's go to Minot and be like, what fucking, who's flying this helicopter? And they're ringing these boys up on this.
Oh yeah.
They'd been on a training flight from the city of Billings to Helena. Let's see here. The antler skull. Okay, the antlers and skull. They took a skull too.
Hmm.
The antler and skull taken by the guardsmen worth a combined $300 to $400. Oh shit! So they're like getting charged with like actual theft of,
Oh yeah.
like there's value assigned to this. It's not like you just
Oh,
trespass.
you get into like trophy elk and trophy deer sheds. We're talking thousands of dollars.
Okay, listen to this one. Citations issued to two of the guardsmen, probably the two that got off the helicopter, said they entered posted private property that was posted for trespassing for the purpose of elk antler removal. So, just I want to say now, we have a documented legal court case that if you are a landowner, at least that federal jurisdiction, like I'm in the Sixth Circuit. I don't know what circuit you're in out there. Is that you the same circuit as Montana? Um, that if you have a posted no trespassing sign at your gate or on your property, it includes helicopters.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they touch the ground, they're trespassing. It doesn't matter how you get there. Once you touch the ground, or
So if they had used a PJ and a winch and the dude never touched the ground, if he's like Ethan from Mission Impossible and he doesn't touch, or is it like an FAA thing if you get below 400 feet or whatever, 100, whatever it is? I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting story, and it's not often I get to do a under the hunting category a
on the police blotter.
yeah, we're not even to the dude. We're not even to the police blotter yet. That's just the hunting category. It's like, oh, I got something for hunting. It's got a Black Hawk in it. The next thing is I have a best headlines category, and you may not have really seen that since you really haven't been on the pod. But the best headline, so the best headlines category is it just as it says. I don't have to necessarily read the story. It doesn't have to necessarily fall under, it could be a police blotter type story. It could just be a pop culture story, but the story gets its own category as a best headline. So I'm incentivizing people to write. This is like, like on the Tonight Show, they would do best headlines, right?
Yep.
So the best headline, quote, Sheriff brands transgender prostitute uglier than a mud fence. That's the freaking headline in the newspaper. A Florida sheriff, and you've seen this guy, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. You
Yep.
know that guy, right? Well, I
Oh
guess
yeah.
they picked up some dude picture of some transgendered. I don't know if they picked up the John, but they picked up the prostitute, and they had a picture of the prostitute like their working picture and then like their mugshot. And he was joking around, even talking about how like it's he should be brought up on false advertising charges. So so it's I will have the I'm going to do this right now. Do you have access to your phone?
Yeah.
Just because I want to get your reaction on pod. I want you to look at the mugshot. I'm sending you a picture of the mugshot from Grady Judd holding up the mugshot, and then the pitch.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean
I
this
actually
this.
saw this press conference. It was a big sex trafficking sting.
Yeah, well, I mean, look,
Wow.
I'm not saying that that person who's wearing a wig is necessary uglier than a mud fence, but it's like I don't know if you'd be able to do the Thailand defense. We're like, well, I didn't know that was a guy. It's like the fuck you didn't. It's like it's terrible. So yeah. So
Wow.
mm.
Yeah.
so yeah,
Oh, whew.
that's my best headline section in pop culture news, because I just wanted to tell you this. There's a little girl who's an actress. Her name is Sydney Sweeney. She's like the it girl, I guess, in all the Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
So you know who she is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. So, okay, because this will help. So, I kind of know who she is. Like, I've seen her in some stuff. Look, she's a good looking girl. She's got big boobs and everything, whatever. She's a good looking girl. But to me, she looks like a little kid. She gets some age on her. She probably would look better. However, those of you who are younger than me that are like, think that like the sun rises and sets with Sydney Sweeney, she is selling soap made from her bath water. I shit you not. That is a true story. And we're not even to the blotter yet. We're not even to the blotter. Okay. So the first one is, you ready for the blotter?
Yep.
Okay. First one, Virginia. Let's see here. Find it. Here we go. Do the headline. The headline is, she was a Coast Guard vet, an adult film actress, and finally a killer. So this girl was in the Coast Guard, an OnlyFans model. Apparently, some dude at some point had raped her. She lured this guy somehow to a park, a national park in Ohio, where I'm at, and shot this guy in the back of the head. She just pled guilty the other day. to murdering this guy. And it's like, holy cow, that's an interesting story. The second one, this was a runner-up for best headline. Florida man survives alligator attack, shot by deputies, dead moments later.
Okay, how the hell did that happen?
Best part, special mention to Polk County, Florida. It's Grady Judd. We got to get Grady Judd on the podcast. I
No
have
kidding.
I have never accepted like somebody reaching out and be like, "Hey, I want to be a guest on your podcast." It's surprising how many people reach out, like agents and stuff. It's really weird. Like us, why? But if somebody wants to hook us up with Sheriff Grady Judd from Polk County, and he just wants to keep it on, I will do a special episode just to hear his stories and his messages. We will do whatever he wants because I love this fucking guy.
He's like the
So,
new Sheriff Joe.
oh yeah, oh he's better than Sheriff
Yeah,
Joe.
way better. Is he the one
He
that a few years ago some of his deputies got into a shooting scrape, and I don't know, 4 or 5 deputies opened up on the perp all at one time, and I mean just turned him into Swiss cheese, and some shit lib said, "Why'd you have to shoot him 34 times?" And he replied, "Because that's all the bullets they had."
oh yeah, that's him. That was
That's
him.
yeah.
And I think that same shooting, I think he said, it was either that one or another one. He goes, "We have evidence that a lawful member of the community apparently also took a shot at this person and missed. We would like to extend an offer to this person. We don't know who you are. You're not in trouble, but if you would like, come down to the sheriff's office. We'd love to run you through a training program so the next time you don't miss this guy."
Yeah,
I
I
was
remember
like,
that.
"Oh my god. Oh my god." I'm like, this guy, and his delivery is great.
Oh
So,
yeah, he's
yeah.
fun to
So
listen to.
so apparently this guy, deputies, so a guy, so anyway, you can read the article, but guys in the water, alligator, he's crazy. I guess the cops are after him and they have to shoot him after he, gets saved from the alligator. The final one, and this is kind of a police blotter, kind of, it's like, look, it was kind of a crime. It's a civil crime. Somebody was fired. You can make an argument, maybe, theft of like resources of a public private institution. Harvard professor fired for fabricating research on lying and dishonesty.
Hmm.
Let me read that.
Read
Let
that
me,
story yesterday.
yeah. So, a professor that studies lying and dishonest behavior falsified research data to come up with conclusions about lying and false behavior. And at some point, I'm even like, in the crazy upside down world we live in, I almost feel like this person could make an argument that they provided the service that they said they were going to provide. Um, it's like, I'm glad they were fired, but it's like, what the hell? Harvard University fired a professor after finding that she fabricated research used in studies on dishonesty. Francisca Gino, a star business professor at the Ivy League, was stripped of her title this past week after Harvard administrators informed business faculty of her decision. An investigation of their decision. An investigation into her work was launched in 2023 after a trio of data bloggers presented what they said was evidence of academic fraud in 4 studies co-authored by Gino, noting that they believed that many more Gino-authored papers contained fake data. She was a rising professional at Harvard, and her behavioral research studies related to cheating, lying, and dishonesty received widespread media coverage over the past decade. Holy shit. Her first time she did this, they've gone back, it was something she did in 2012.
Hmm.
Yeah, lying, and there's a professor that studies lying and cheating. And guess what? She lies and cheats. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Well, this wraps up episode 372 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see numerous stories or pictures, links, stuff like this, please go to the website at john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night. You were going to say something. What were you going to say?
Be safe, everybody.
I'm trying to get you out of here on time. See ya. Bye.